In her latest op-ed, Peggy Noonan warns against politicizing events just as we need to be united against the terrorist threat. She is a Wall Street Journal columnist, and she is the author of The Time of Our Lives, a wonderful new book, which you can buy right now. Peggy Noonan, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for having me, David.
It's a strange time, isn't it, when we have such a debate over whether what looks so clearly like a terrorist attack, the FBI collecting evidence, now calling it a terrorist attack, some people are so reluctant to do that in the media and even in the White House.
Yes, it feels almost eccentric, something that is obvious to the country, that this was a jihadist attack, and that there's every indication that it was motivated by the enmity that motivated what happened in Paris and Charlie Hebdo, etc., that we in the United States officially from our government cannot be as frank and uncompromising in our terminology and skills of definition as France. France had no problem after these terrible things happened saying, we know this, 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 and this, and that means we conclude it is terrorism. It is babyish for us, not for us, I think for the White House to be doing this sad political dance which makes them look inadequate.
And it's dangerous, too, is it not? I mean, it makes it more difficult to fight the enemy.
Well, it's confusing.
Because they don't even call him the enemy.
Confusion is always something that cuts down on resolve and the ability to marshal, you know, the kind of force from the people that is needed. So it's a peculiar thing. I've never seen quite a moment like this.
Now, one thing you talk about in your book, as well as your columns, is this balance that we have to take between our freedom, which we all love, and the defense of our freedom, which sometimes causes restrictions in our freedom. Defense by the whole argument over whether the government has too much information about us right now. We have new NSA rules that are restricting how much data the NSA can collect. Is that going to change as a result of what happened in California?
Oh, I think we are entering an era where that debate will come back, but perhaps with a greater urgency. In my book, I have an entire chapter on what I call simply the profound personal importance of privacy. It's not a small thing, and it's not only a national security question. It has to do with your dignity as a human being and your apartness as a separate soul and a separate person from the other persons. So I don't take this lightly, and I am not a knee-jerk, you know, let's go get them person like that. I think this is actually a difficult question we'll all have to work through again.
So where does it end? This battle against terrorism, do we finally come to some kind of united position on what's happened in California, or do you think the divide, because we're coming into an election, there's so much political antagonism, just continues throughout the investigation?
Look, we're in a new chapter. We're up against this thing called ISIS that nobody knew existed 4, 5, 6 years ago. It is a new chapter that will probably involve a number of ugly attacks like what happened in France and what happened here. And we are going to have to figure out the best ways to fight it. America's pretty good at fighting things like that. But it would be so helpful if the White House and if our political leaders would be frank and honest about what we are facing. I worked for a guy, you remember, who could actually look at the Soviet Union, which everybody was so nervous about, and looked at it and said, you know, that's an evil empire. It was helpful that he was so candid. It was as if a lot of Americans went, oh my God, he said what is obvious to me, but everybody fears saying. Sometimes you gotta say the hard thing. Just be honest, be frank. People feel more confidence and better when they know they have a leader who's telling it to them straight. And it adds to uncertainty and a feeling of pointless anxiety when they have a leader who they know is not giving it to them straight at all.
Peggy Noonan, Giving It to Us Straight. The Time of Our Lives is the name of her new book. Thank you so much for being here, Peggy.
Thank you,
really appreciate
David.
it.